Hi everyone. In last session, we discussed about of the RDS service. RDS service is nothing but relational database services. Already we completed the RDS services. In that we already created the one databases and we connected our databases with our local workbench. Okay. So today we are going to start and we can say call as a very important service in the AWS, and also it's a common services that is called as the AWS EC2. So what is the EC2? EC2 is nothing but it is we can say called as the Elastic Compute Cloud. So it is one of the most demanding service in the AWS, and also it is used to create the virtual machines in AWS cloud. Already we discussed this how to create the EC2 machines in our Linux sections. Just we created the EC2 machine, created one machines, and we at that time we used the EC2 instance, and we created a one virtual machines, and we just go the practices on the Linux command. So already we discussed, but we will discuss here. Suppose if you want to search here, you can see search here also EC2. Then you can see the top features of the EC2. So you can see the virtual services in the cloud. So that is called as the Elastic Compute Cloud. And top features dashboard, then launch templates, then instance, then spot, instance request, and saving plans. We will discuss more and more in the EC2, and also we will discuss deep dive in the EC2 because it is a very demanding service in the AWS, and it is a very important service in we can say call as a in our cloud computing. So then whenever we talked about of the EC2 service, EC2 VM is called as a EC2 instance. So EC2 VM is nothing but we can say called as a it is a EC2 instance. Then EC2 instance, what is the EC2 instance? We can say called as it is a computer, it is a service. Then we can say called as a virtual machining. Then virtual also we can say called as a VBox also. That is the called as a EC2 instance. Okay. So whenever we talked about here, so then EC2 instance is a resizable. Well, then we can change the configuration based on the our requirement. Okay. After that, we can see called as a EC2 is a paid service. So hourly bill will be generated. So what is the EC2? EC2 is nothing but Elastic Compute Cloud. Then it is the most demanding service in the AWS. Then whenever we talk about of the Azure and GCP, also there also we have the different name. So that is the called as a EC2 services. Then whenever we talked about of the EC2 VM is called as a EC2 instance. Whenever we talked about of the EC2 instance equal to the computer services, then VM, then virtual machines and VBoxes. Then EC2 instance is a resizable because as per your requirement wise, we can configure our machine. Suppose my requirement is a I want only 1 GB RAM and 20 GB of the ROM. So at that time, ROM is nothing but it's a storage. Then you can choose your configuration and you can use the instance types at that time selected and you can working on it. So that is called as a configuration. So as per your requirement wise, so we can use the EC2 configuration also. Then whenever we talked about of the EC2 billing here, so minimum bill will be period is a 1 hour. So whenever for the whenever we talked about of the best practices or to encourage of the beginners to AWS is provided the T2 micro, T2 3 micro for the 1 year is a free. That is called. And also whenever we talked about of the EC2 is a regional services. So here you can see the when I click on here, so instance, then first of all we have the launch instance here. Then we can see the one messages here pop up here. If you want to walk through, then you can go to the walkthrough also. Then whenever we talked about of the launch and instances, then we can say called as a names and tags here. If you want to whatever you want to there, then you can enter your name. Then after that, if you want to add something additional tags here, then you can add it. Then already we discussed in the our Linux sessions. So just we entered here and just we choose the any of the Linux here and just we completed this. So now we can see the in detail what is the EC2 instance. Okay. So whenever we talked about of the for beginners, then you can see the T2 and T2 3 micro here. For the beginner, so it's a free for the configuration. It's a nothing but instance type is nothing but it is a configuration. So whenever we in some AWS account, we can see the T2 micro in some AWS account T2 3 micro. Okay. So whenever we click on here, then you can see the number of configurations here. We will talk later on. Just I'm saying here. Okay. After that, you can see the bill will be generated point uh, 0.147 USD. Okay, but EC2 is a regional services and monthly bill. Suppose we created the one EC2 machines and we just keep as it is. Okay, so whenever we keep as it is, then bill will be generated, but it's a for 1 year is a free because 750 hours. Whenever we calculated 750 hours in 1 month, it we can say called as it won't be completed. So that's why bill will be generated, but it's a minimum will be generated. Suppose whenever instead of that T2 3 micro, you can suppose I'm using the another high configuration machines here, then bill will be generated. So because it's a hourly billing here, you can see we will talk because EC2 VM minimum billing is a period is in 1 hour. Because suppose if we use the whenever we started to the EC2 machines at 9 a.m., then whenever we stop the machine at 9:15 a.m., then 50 minutes we use there, but bill will be generated for 1 hour. Suppose I started again my machines 9:30 and I stopped my machines 9:50, then in this scenario, I use 20 minutes. So whenever we use the 20 minutes, then also bill will be generated for the 1 hour. So that is the billing period of the EC2 VM. So whenever we talked about of the what is the EC2, EC2 is nothing but it is Elastic Compute Cloud and it is most demanding service in the AWS. Then it is used to the create the virtual machines in AWS cloud. Then EC2 is called as a EC2 VM is called as a EC2 instance. Okay. Then what is the EC2 instance? EC2 instance is nothing but computer services, then virtual machines, VM, also VBox. There is a instance type. So whenever we talked about so EC2, you can see what is the EC2 Elastic Compute, the most demanding services in the AWS. Then after that, EC2 VM is called as a EC2 instance. Then EC2 instance equal to the computer service server, sorry. Then VM, then virtual machines and VBox. Then EC2 instance is a resizable because already we discussed here we can set the configuration in the EC2 instance type. We will discuss our next agenda. Then EC2 instance is a paid services that is called as hourly billing. Then EC2 VM is minimum billing period. Suppose we started to the services using 9 a.m. to 9:15 we stop. Then 15 minute we use, but 1 hour bill will be generated. After that, to encourage the beginners to AWS provider T2 dot micro, otherwise T3 dot micro for 1 year free. Then EC2 is a regional services because whenever we talked about of the regional, then as per regional wise you can see the different here. Suppose whenever we change, then we can see the EC2 instance because it's a regional services. Whenever we talked about of the next our agenda instance type, what is the instance type? Instance type is nothing but we can say called as a it's Amazon EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud offers a variety of the instance type to suit the different use cases. What is the use cases? Use cases is nothing but suppose we have the same some requirement in the different okay in my project. Then as per your requirement wise, they provided to the EC2 instance different types of the instance of the type to suit our different use cases. It's a depend on your requirement because every time we cannot say the our requirement is the same. because sometimes our requirement is changed, sometimes every time our requirement will be changed in our project. So that's why we have the some flavors in the EC2 instance type. Then it should be suit our uh, different use cases. So that's why EC2 instance types is provided already from the AWS side. Then whenever we have the talked about of the additional pre-installed software, then you can see the suppose we already installed this one. Just a minute. Compare EC2 instance. You can see here. Compare the EC2 instance type here. Then currently we selected here the T3 micro here. Then we will discuss. You can see the number of EC2 instances here. Then compare instance types here. Then compare EC2 instance provided with the wide selection of the instance type. Then optimize to the fit different use cases already we discussed. Then instance are a virtual server that can be run application. Okay, it your requirement wise we can select it. Then you can see the what is the combination here: CPU, memory, storage, networking capacity. These are the things we wrap in our EC2 instance type. Okay, then whenever we talk about here different EC2 instance, then we can see here the suppose we have the gear icon here, 15 instance type is there. Then you can see the regional wise. Then you can see the availability of the properties for the 43 free tire eligibility, then barrier metal, then number of things here. So you can select it as per your preferences wise. So we will discuss how to select it. You can see six not one three plus EC2 instance type here. Then suppose I want to some suggestion from the AWS side. Then we have the parameters here. Then we can provide the parameters also here also. Okay. Then we will discuss that whenever we talked about the suppose my requirement is a general purpose I want. Okay. Then you can go with T2, T3, T4 micro. Okay. You can see here the T2, T3, T4. Okay. So whenever we talked about of the suppose I want high configuration of the processor, then we have to go with C series. Okay. So 1 minute. You can see here the tutorial also is there. Then you can go through this tutorial. Then you can explore the EC2. Okay. So where suppose I want to check the information for the EC2 type here, then you can select it here. Then 1 minute. Then additional pre-install. Sorry, let me cancel this one. Suppose I am selecting here the launch instance. In that I'm selecting here the different EC2 instances here. Then you can see the number of the instances here, deep learning of the machines, neuron, all those stuffs here. You can see here whenever we talked about of the information here, then you can see the info, then select the EC2 instance, type of the meat, you are computing a memory of the networking storage. But what are the basis we have to select it? On the basis we have the suppose we have the some requirement. I want to use high configuration processor. Then we have to go with C series. Suppose uh, I want to high memory capacity configuration instance type. Then we have to go with memory optimize. Suppose we have the another suppose my requirement is a high performance local storage using of the NVM, SSD and SSD, DDS services configuration. Then we have to go with I series, D series. Okay, these are the things we have in the instance types here. Okay, whenever we talked about of the here configuration, then get advice. Suppose here we have the options is there. Suppose I want to use data warehousing, then you can select it. Suppose we have the use cases is there, because based on the use cases we can use the instance type. Suppose data science and analytics for this, then I'm selecting here the performance is high. Then you can see the instance type, then it will be suggest from the your AWS side. Then you can see the view recommended EC2 instance types here. Then whenever we can see here the instance type, then you can see the high configuration instance type. But also here we have the options is there. You can see here when I click on the EC2 instance, then we have the EC2 instance types. In instance, we have the instance types. Then you can see the instance types. In that we have the action else is there. In that actions you can download it, then you can create it. If you want to uh, launch your instance, then you can create it. Otherwise, you can instance type finder also is there. It is nothing but it's an advisor from the which is provided from your AWS accounts. You can see here based on the use cases, we can use only the instance types. Okay. So my requirement is a high configuration. Suppose I'm not getting the which configurations instance type I need to use in my project, then just you need to go to the instance types. Otherwise, instance finder, just select it. Otherwise, while we launching the instance here, then just click on the launch instances, then get advice. Then once we selected get advice here, then you need to select your use cases. What are you using the use cases? Suppose if we are using the, suppose my requirement is a web application, otherwise app server, and I want to hosting my application, otherwise content delivery networks, e-commerce, each and everything here. So otherwise you can select it the application hosting, and what are the configuration, what type of the priority here. Suppose my requirement is a high performance. Suppose my price and you can call as a, whenever you selecting price plus performance, then you can select it here. Otherwise you can select it the CPU manufacturing. I want to use the which type of the configuration I need to use in my machine. Then you can select it Amazon, Intel, AMD, because we are implementing the on-premise services like that. Just same thing in our cloud. So that's why we can see the all configuration type here. So don't be confused. Then suppose I want to use Apple Mac here, then you can select it. Then it will be advised. Then you can see the get advice instance type selection, because we don't have any this type of finder in our instance. Then you can uh, put your feedbacks also is there. Then you can submit it feedback to the AWS support team. Then they will get the feedback and they will implement on the work on it. So that type of the we have the instance types here. So which type of instance when we have to select it depends on you, because it depends on your requirement. Suppose my requirement is a general purpose, then you can select it T series, M series. It's nothing but T2 micro, T3 micro, T4 micro. We have the number of micros here. You can select it here, but most probably you can see the all the series you can see here. Number of already we discussed 600 plus instance type here in our AWS account. Then in you can see here the it's a 16 GB memory, then 32 GB memory, then on-demand Linux based pricing. Then bill also will be generated because it based on the per hour. You can see everywhere is a per hour. Suppose we started our high configuration machine type, then bill will be generated for every 1 hour. So it will be considered hour-wise bill in the your EC2 instance. Okay. So whenever we selected here, whenever we talked about of the instance types here, you can see we have the different types of the instances here. Okay. Then you can see the okay, AWS EC2 Elastic Compute offers the variety of the instance types then to suit the our different use cases. So general purpose we have compute optimize we have, memory optimize we have, then storage optimize we have, then accelerate if you want to use the accelerate, if you want to get VIP treatment in your computing, then we have to go with accelerate computing. Then we have to go with high performance compute also is there. But mainly we have the six types of the instances here. One is a general purpose, compute optimize, memory optimize, storage optimize, and select. whenever we finding of the instance, you can see there also is option memory optimized, compute optimized, general purpose, otherwise storage optimized. Because compute is nothing but it's related to the high configuration. Suppose whenever we talked about of the memory, then it's a high memory capacity. I want to use my machines, then you can go with memory optimized. Then whenever we talked about of the storage optimized, then I want to use the high performance local storage using of the NVMs, SSDs and HDDs, because we have the only two types of the memories, SSDs and SSDDs. Okay. After that, if you want to accelerate computing, then if you want to powerful of the GPU, then FP accelerators, then you can go with accelerator computing. Then whenever we talked about of the high performance computing, the massive computerized powers and latest generation processor, if you want to, then we have to go with high performance computing. Then in that we have the different series like H series. Then whenever we talked about of the general purpose series, we have the T and M series. In the T M series, you can see the configuration in your AWS account. Suppose this is the T series. In this T series, what is here? 1 GB memory. Then current generation is true, because whenever we talked about of the generations processor also, the current generation is true. Then on demand Linux basis prices, then it will be generated point zero zero, sorry, 0.0112. This is the, then you can see the different here. If you want to get the advice, then you can select it also. Okay, but on which basis we have to select the instance type? It will be based on your use cases, what type of you're using the application in your cloud computing. Then we have to select it the EC2 instance type. Suppose if you want to suppose I want to talk with compute optimize. Here you can see the compute optimize, it is a C series. Then memory optimize, it's a R and X series also. Then you can search here. It will be take some time, because it's more data in that, so it will be take some time. Then suppose I want to storage optimize, then you have to go with I and D series also there. So whenever we talked about of the in laptops also, we have the different series, i3, i5, i7 processor. This type of same like that, we have the instance types. In the instance types, we have the different varieties of the instance type to suit our different use cases. But suppose if we are not getting how to select the instance type, then you can get the advice from your AWS account side. So in AWS account side, whenever we talked about here instance type, it's larger because it's a high configuration machines. In that you can see the CPUs, then architecture, then memory, then storage type also is there, SSD. Because so also you can see the on demanding pricing of the Linux machine. You can see then on demand Windows pricing also is there, because we have the only two operating system, one is a Linux, another is a Windows. So it's a instance type. So I think that's it for instance type. So suppose whenever we go with interview, at that time they will ask what is the instance type. Then we have to say Elastic Compute Cloud offer as a different varieties of the instance types, but to suit our different use cases. Then you can see the general purpose compute, optimize, memory optimize, storage optimize, and accelerate and high configuration of computing. No one can ask you what is the T series, M series. Okay? Just you need to the aware about of the what is the instance type and what are the processor in that also. We have the computer optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, then accelerated computing, then high configuration computing, and general purpose. These are the, but most probably which instance type, whenever we creating the EC2 instance, T3 micro, because it's a free for 1 year. Some AWS account we consider T2 dot micro, some AWS account T3 micro. So it's a free for 1 year because monthly will be bill will be generated by T2 and T3 micro. It's a monthly for the 750 hours. Whenever we calculate it, it won't be completed in 1 month, 715 hours. So that is the our T2 and T3 micro. So our bill will be generated if you are using the high configuration machines. Then you can use for the sometimes bill will be generated for 1 hour, but make sure you need to the delete the all EC2 instance, because whenever we keep as it is, then bill will be generated after 1 hour, 1 hour. So we will use high configuration machines for our some software we want to, like Sonar Cube, then Kubernetes, then we can install, but we we can delete it immediately for practice purposes. Just we can generate it the we can create it the Kubernetes, then we can install the Sonar cubes on all the stuffs, whatever we require, the high configurations like Jenkins also is there. So, but once we use it, then immediately we will delete all those stuffs. So that is the instance time. Then next we have the agenda. So whenever we talked about here. So what is the AMI? So whenever we creating of the quick start here, then name, then we have the Amazon machine images here. So what is the AMI? AMI stands for the Amazon Machines Images, and AMI is nothing but we can say called as it is a template that content of the software configuration like operating systems, application server, applications required to the launch your instances. So suppose we have the you can see the whenever we talked about of the AMI, AMI is nothing but it's a template. So what is the template? Suppose whenever we go of any of the uh, hospital or any of the company, there is a one form that is called as a template. In that, just we need to enter the all details. Same like that, we have the template that contains software configuration like operating systems, then application server, then applications required to the launch your instance. So whatever we have. So whenever we talked about of the Amazon machines here, so 1 minute. So whenever we have the one EMI here, suppose we have the one EMI, suppose we have the one Amazon machine images. It's a nothing but it's a configuration. Image is nothing but whenever we have the image in coding part, then we can say called as a it's a wrap of the software. So we can say called as a it is a software configuration. It's operating systems, application server, then application. It is a wrap in our images. That is called as a so we can say called as a it's a functionality of the software. So whenever we talked about here, so we have the one Amazon machines here. So we created one Amazon machines. In that, suppose I have installed some softwares like one operating systems, then application server, and whatever we have the some suppose we install the some another software. So in that, okay, you can consider the any of the software in that I have installed, like whatever we required the software we installed. Okay, then once we install this software, then we can launch our image. We can launch our instance type. Suppose we have the here AWS Linux. This is the my image. So this is my software. Okay. So you can see called as a, it's a whenever we take suppose we are taking example here. Then, okay. So this is my image. So whenever we launch images here, you can see the Amazon Linux, then kernel 6.16 SQL Server, number of images, number of application is there also. So whenever we talked about when suppose we installed one instance here, so after that one instance, then we can launch our instance type. Suppose once we launch our instance here, suppose we are launching the one EC2 instance here. So whenever we created one EC2 instance here first, okay. So whenever we launch one images here, so once we launch one images here, so this is AWS. So suppose we selecting one image here. Suppose if you want to select a map, then you can go with map. So that is called as the Amazon machines images. So but where suppose if you want to move AMIs here, then you can browse also is there. So all here, so in that we have the different types like communities AMI, then marketplace also is there, and my AMIs. So if you want to create a own Amazon machine image, then you can create it. Otherwise, if you want to take latest one market, then you can select it and you can use it. But here you can see the cost of the software. It's allowed from the AWS side. So here you can see the for Cisco. Then we have the one different company they launch the one AMI that is called the Amazon Machine Image. But what is the use of this one? Because I want to install the some software in my so you I want to launch one my instance. Instance is nothing but I want launch my one virtual machine. Then we require the operating system, application server, and an application. In that we have the all those stuffs. Where will we wrap it? It will be wrap in our AMI. So that is called as a Amazon machine images. Suppose whenever we suppose you can use the communities also here. In that communities Red Hat already we heard about this one. So then we have the different you can select it and you can use it. But what is the requirement here? It based on your project requirement. Suppose whenever if you want to quick start, then we have the Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, Red Hat, SUSE, then Windows, then Mac OS. These are the things. It's a quick start. You can see the number of images here. Because if you want to browse it, then you can create own AMIs. Then you can use marketplace. Otherwise, you can use communities. But what is the purpose of the AMIs? AMI is nothing but I want to that time we require the one operating systems. Suppose we are using the Linux, then Linux operating system, then application server. So we already application server in our Linux, then in applications whatever we have the types. Suppose we have the one suppose I want to install the SQL server, then what operating systems we require? We are using the you can use Mac, you can use operating systems like Linux, otherwise you can use Windows. Then we require the operating system, then application server. What is the application server? It's a APK file. It depends on you. Okay. But whenever we launch one EC2 instance, but what is the purpose of the AMIs? AMIs is nothing but suppose in that we just updated some configurations like I want whenever we launch here, you can see here the so suppose I want Docker. Okay, so this type of the uh, I required here in my machines. Then suppose Docker Swarm, then container Docker. This type of the configuration I required in my Linux AWS. So suppose whenever we are taking here example only real time. So suppose we are taking these one. Suppose a Docker Swarm I want. Then we have to create one AWS images. In that we have to install the Docker Swarm. It based on your requirement. Then we need to the launch our EC2 instance. Then again, uh, my requirement is again I need a same EC2 instance. Then we have to create one. Already we created one, but we need to the select it again, same images. Then again we need to the install the Docker Swarm. It depends on you, what are the software you require. Then again we need to the launch our EC2 instance. So instead of this one, so we can install all those, we can wrap all those in our AWS images. then we can launch our EC2 instance. Then base once we use EC2 instance, then you can suppose my requirement is a I want 50 is EC2 with same configuration. Then based on your requirement, you can directly use existing of the image. And do I need to install the same software in each and every machine, each and every images? No, because we are using the existing one because we have the same requirement. I required Docker and Docker Swarm in our EC2 instance. Then you can use and you can create the 50 EC2 machine. So that is the AMI. So what is the purpose? So I need to use same configuration in multiple if based on, but suppose we don't have any images, then do we launch our EC2 instance? No, we cannot launch our EC2 instance because we required something. At that time, we required some operating systems, application server, then application. So we required something for we required launch your instances something. So that's why we use the images. But it depends on your requirement. Suppose my requirement is I want Docker, SAM, number of like that software I want, then you can install in that your AWS images, then you can launch your EC2 instance. Again, I need to the launch same EC2 instance, same configuration EC2 instance, then you can use this one and you can, based on this one, you can launch it. Whatever we have the requirement, then you can, there is no need to the back the process and we need to the again Docker Swarm selected in this AWS and we need to the again EC2 and then we need to the again EC2. There is no need to the, then we can use directly this EC2 instance, same configuration, then you can use and you can launch it. So that is the purpose. But every applications we require the images in upcoming sessions in Docker. Most probably we will talk about of the images. What is the image? Image is nothing but just we are wrapping our code functionality in our one of images. So that is, so one type of it is a build. So nothing but in Docker we can say called as it's a image. So third party, we have the AMIs that is called as a paid. Also community based, it's a free public access because whenever we some it depends. Some they are free, some they are not free. So it depends on you. You can use it, but most probably we use the, you can see community. Suppose we selected the Red Hat here, then you can see the these are the features available in our Red Hat. Then you can see the Unix and Amazon Linux. Then number of here. Then Windows also the so all Windows configuration. So whenever we selected the all, but most probably our application will be deployed in our Linux. So Microsoft Windows Server 2025, then Microsoft Windows and all those stuffs will be wrapped in our images. Then we can, by using of image, we can use it and then we can launch our EC2 install. To EC2 so we can use, we have the quick start, then third party, then AMIs, otherwise you can create it own. Then to launch our EC2 instance, AMIs is required because if we don't have any AMIs, then can we launch it? No, we cannot launch it. Then we can also create our own EMIs also there. Then process, what is the process? Select EC2 VM, then action. Then suppose I want to create a one EC2 image. Okay. So how to create a own EC2 here? Suppose I want to use same configuration EC2 there. Suppose we are launching one EC2 here. Suppose I'm selecting my EC2. Okay. Then suppose I'm selecting these one. Then I'm using the number of instance. It is one. I will suppose I want 10 instances. Then you can select it. So it depends. So I want 10 machines. Then you can create it. Then I'm using the create. I think I need to the creator there. So we will discuss later on what is the. Suppose I'm selecting the test 1 1. So it's created. Okay. So it's downloaded. Then allow access traffic from. We will discuss. Then suppose we launch our. We are not changing anything in that. Just we launch here EC2 instance. Once we launch here, you can click on here your EC2 instances. Then otherwise just go to the EC2 instance. Otherwise just you need to the click on the dashboard. It's a top feature your EC2 instance. Then you can select it here. Then once you can see here. So I want use same EC2 again and again. Then you can use it. It's a because in that I use some instance type like T3 micro. So my requirement is T3 micro. I want 10 machines. Then you can launch it by using a. Do I need to again use AWS and do I need to use again same process AW select AWS then T3 micro and no, then we can directly launch it. Suppose I want to create my own images here, then just go to the click on the actions here. In that actions we need to the you can see here the image and create. Then you can click on the image and templates here. Then you can create your images. Then you can once we created image, then we can just select it same image. Then you will get the same configuration machines in your whatever we I want 10 machine. Then you can launch immediately your 10 machine with same configuration. So that is the purpose of the AMI. So then you can select it here. Suppose I'm selecting here test application. Just I'm otherwise. Right? So description is a it's optional. So you can see here. So we just launch here. We created one image here. So its image is created. You can see in your AWS account. Then do I need to the same again and again use? No. Then we just you can see here the in images. You can see the in images also. You can see your one images ID here. Amazon machines images one ID is created. Then you can otherwise we have the filtered here private images, public and disable images. All those stuffs here. So that is the AMI. So what are the types of the quick start, third party and community based? These are the images. But what is the images? It's nothing but we can suppose what is the Amazon machine image? It template that contain the software configuration like software operating systems, server, then application. So it can be any type of the applications we require to launch our to deploy our project to the cloud. So we will discuss tomorrow's sessions. So we have the number of parts we will discuss in our EC2 instance because it's most important service here. Then we will discuss tomorrow key pair, then security group, then VPC, then EBS. We will discuss one by one. Alright. Thank you guys.